The presence of these two women is intimidating, trust me.
No, I'm more
It's
scared.
lonely on the top, trust me.
I'm a little more scared because of the fearless, relentless, unforgiving.
And give a news anchor a mic and you'll never get a word in sideways.
We'd love to listen, Navika.
We were traveling this morning from Delhi, and I told Navika, please come to my rescue if I am just losing my ground. And she said, don't worry. So I don't know what it means. Don't worry means you're here or you're there. We don't. And then we have the dynamic Mrs. Geetanjali Kirloskar. There's a lot. And by the way, I prepared my questions, some thought processes only last night, and I slept at 3:30 and I started at around 11:30, which means there's a lot of work that they've done, huge body of work that they have delivered, and with complete passion. So you can imagine how much I had to read. So Bangalore has to show, itni barish bahar hai, a little more warmth to welcome both our guests.
We also have to clap because on an average they must have driven 1 hour 45 minutes to come here.
Thank you very much from all of us here.
So it feels really strange. And this is probably Navika's, I think, 1.5 sessions that she's been on the other side. Mrs. Kirloskar gets interviewed several times. And I don't know if you both have done a session together. Never. And there's a lot that Google doesn't tell us about them. So we're going to get into that path to find out many things which we don't know and which you don't know, despite of being from the same city. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if I have to do a formal introduction, which I shouldn't be because it just makes it a very formal session, but extremely prominent, distinct personalities, and very, very significant faces that you have today. And we all have gathered to celebrate their success, their glory, and inshallah, more success in future in their work and in their ambitions. Very, very complicated times one always goes through in her profession, and for her, it's been quite challenging in last 2 years. But I want to start with a very personal note. Mrs. Kirloskar, my first question is to you, that what is it that determines your own personality, your own persona, both personally as well as professionally, vis-a-vis, like it today, vis-a-vis what you were 2 years ago, before the most wonderful and the most humble human being and such a successful human being, Mr. Kirloskar. So we remember him fondly, and we want to definitely start the conversation with that. What was the tell us about the phase that you went through, the crisis, how did you manage?
Yes, thank you. It was indeed a very, very difficult and challenging 2 years because the suddenness of the crisis and the adversity that falls on you because of the suddenness is very overwhelming. So I just literally got up one morning on 22nd of November 2022 and I lost my husband in less than 3 minutes, and he was absolutely fine. In fact, all the medical checks that happened a month prior to that in Boston at the best hospital in the world were all normal. It was just a regular check. So it was a very big shock. Now, first your feelings are very negative. You're overcome with negativity, with fear, there's anger, there's a lack of acceptance. How can this happen? How can the sun rise as if nothing has changed? There's a lot of anger. And then gradually I realized that, there is an overwhelming task ahead of me. I realized that both my daughter Mansi and I would not have the luxury of grieving for long lengths of time and wallowing in the self-pity that follows grief. And that's really what happens. Because we realize that we have a very large responsibility and accountability to the vast network of professional and personal relationships that Vikram had left behind. And it was very important for me not to let it go, because it was our journey together. And in wanting to carry forward his legacy, I felt that he's still with us. in walking the same path. So I had to transform my grief into resolve. I had to work at letting go of my anchors. I had to ensure that I found a purpose. This is very important when you are suffering with grief. You have to find a purpose, and my purpose were not the people and my relationships. I let go of the anchors and I realized I must devote myself to this purpose. And that's how I transformed my grief into resolve. I found a purpose. My purpose was that along with my daughter Mansi, I would carry forward Vikram's legacy, whether it's across his multiple partnerships with the Japanese built over 30 years and created a sort of huge success in the marketplace, or it was his vast network of relationships, personal and in business. So that's how I think it helped me to become the best version of myself. And that's what I would advise to anyone who goes through an adversity like this.
More power.
I'm sorry that was a bit long, but when you talk about something that has affected you.
Yeah. I hope, and we all wish everyone present in the room, we hear wonderful things about you. Since we are starting on this note, it'll be also nice if we, if you tell us that, a lot of people would say things like, oh, you're moving very fast, and you're trying to get into his shoes very, very quickly. So there's a message that every woman, who just experiences something like this, or any partner for that matter, experiences like this, when you said, as rightly, that there's humongous amount of responsibility. It'll be great to hear your reaction that, it's the biggest loss of a companion, and losing a companion. How and what is it that you imbibed from his style of working, and how you combined it with your style of working, that mashallah, as we say, that you just got onto a seamless track very, very quickly.
Yeah, we had to ensure a seamless transition. We couldn't afford hiccups, and there was very little time. So I think I had to transform. Because if I had to walk his path, then I had to understand what were the values, what were the characteristics, what was his work ethic, what was his culture. And after living with him for 40 years, and we worked in partnership. In family business, everybody is involved. So I was involved, though I had my own parallel career, but I was involved with him in our businesses. In fact, I set up 2 joint ventures with the Japanese independently in the last 8-10 years. So fortunately, I was already integrated. But I had to remember that I have to walk his path, and I also have to walk it with his ethic and with his work culture. What I did was, obviously, you bring your own value addition into it, right? His formula was one of great success. And as I said, sometimes if you transform your grief into resolve and don't wallow in self-pity, you can become the best version of yourself.
Wonderful. Most wonderful. We have 2 extremely dynamic women sitting here, both of them. They share not one, but 3 things they have in common, which is absolute passion, if I may say, crazy. And you are somebody who's found a resolve rather quickly, and you're on the track. And she, like somebody said, that if you give her a mic, even if she, and straight, if she jumps out of her sleep, she can just get onto the television doing a very impactful work. So we have these 2 ladies, friends, who share passion, who have compassion. That's very, very important. And also they both have absolute determination to wake up every day to create an impact and a wholesome impact. And we wish them great luck for that, to both of you. So Navika, what about you? How would you, we know you through the screen, and we all heard and read what you've written forever in the Indian Express. She was a leading journalist at the Indian Express and known for breaking stories at her, and a common boss, Shekhar Gupta, used to say, agar koi story nikalni hai, to Navika ko bhej do, zameen se bahar nikal degi. So that's for Navika. But, let's hear from her. What is, Navika, who makes you nervous? First, I want to ask you. When you go, okay? Now, but you don't have to start grilling and drilling me. But I want to ask you that, you've interviewed the male and formidable male personalities, absolutely, including the Prime Minister of India. At least 3 or 4 times you've done his interviews, and many other such male personalities.
14 times.
14
From
times.
CM to PM.
Yeah. So, 14 times from CM to PM. Who did he intimidate you? When you walked in for the meeting, did you feel nervous? Did you feel मुझे ये भी देखना चाहिए था? Were you overawed, overwhelmed? First, let's hear that.
Well, thanks, Ambreen, for having me with such an accomplished lady. And may I let you guys into a secret? She turned anchor before I did. She did a show when Times Now was launched. That was in 2006, 31st January. It's etched in my mind. And she did a show for us called Life's Like That. And frankly, when I hear her today, I can say nothing else but life's like that.
Thank you. I'm really overwhelmed. Amazing. And I remember Navika walking around in the corridors.
Because I saw I had come from Indian Express to television. I was a print person. I knew my craft of doing the stories, but I wasn't very screen friendly. The first day at work, I took my mic. Outside Parliament, there are about 60 channels who stand in a row and do their gyan. Blah, 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 blah. Everybody's talking into everybody, but you have to hold your own. Somebody's talking in Kannada, reporting for a channel here. Somebody's in Tamil, somebody's in Hindi, somebody's in English. So you stand there. And I took my camera person and myself and I said, we'll go to the other side because I can't talk in the middle of this confusion. I lose the track of what I'm trying to say. And that was day one. And today, 20 years hence, I mean, not fully 20, but getting there, I can wake up at 2:30 and start rambling on the latest political crisis. And what makes me nervous? The only thing that makes me nervous is that my infrastructure at home should work properly so that I can concentrate on work. So, the cook should be there, the maid should be there. And, when my kids were growing up, their classes, their tennis classes, all that should happen on. That's the only thing that used to make me nervous. And even today, because I have an old mom living with me, and when I'm traveling, I have a Punjabi husband. So my kitchen should function.
Not a South Indian husband.
Yeah, so, kitchen should function because in Punjabi households, food is just so important. That food and good food on the table is extremely important. So that used to be, and still is something that makes me nervous. Other human beings don't make me nervous. The rest I feel I can manage. And, initially when, I didn't know. I mean, I knew my pen, I knew my computer, but the mic and the camera was a little bit new tools for me when I joined TV in 2005. And 2007, I must tell you this story. 2007 was the election in Gujarat. This was the first very famous election after, 2002 and every, international, national media, everybody's eyes were on that election. And I was told to go and get an interview of the man, the then CM, Mr. Narendra Modi. And I was given a one-way ticket. And I was told that when you get and if you get, come back to Delhi, otherwise stay there. And, mom, my son is here today, but he was 4 or 5. And I've never had, work trips which are, where timings are not known, when you're going, when you're coming, and, how many days you have to arrange for the kids, and instruct your maids for. And it was just one of those assignments that I needed to go for. And I said, I'm never going to get it because I don't know the man. I've never done politics of a party. I have done ministries, I have done policy, I know ministers, but I've never done a political party, and the guy doesn't know me. I don't know him, so how am I going to get? But then you have bosses and then you have assignments, and the tougher it is, women like us get the toughest assignments to do because we have to prove ourselves. So I went one-way ticket, and when I reached Ahmedabad, I made a few inquiries, and I was told that there is this bigger file of requests for the interview of the man, and big names in the television world in those days. All your friends, everybody.
Our friends.
Everybody was there, and I mean, they were the television stars of those days. We were rookies who had just walked in, and there was no way I was going to get an interview. And I was told, "Okay, you also write one request, but Hindi mein likhna." And I didn't know how to write. I mean, I knew how to write, but to make a Shuddh Hindi request letter, which has to go to the Chief Minister, is little daunting. But anyway, I made that request letter and put it in there. And the story as it goes is, I figured after camping there for a day that during the day there's a guy from the party who goes, and there was a Rath Yatra that was going on. So this guy takes all the material for ads that have to go in the local newspapers the next day and gets it okayed from the CM and comes back. So I trailed along with him, and ki ye jayega to I'll go behind him. And then I just followed the Rath Yatra one stop to another, and nobody knew me. I mean, least of all the man I was supposed to be interviewing. And the only thing I had was the Times Now mic in my hand. So every stop, when Mr. Modi would get off to make a speech to the people around, I would just wave my Times Now mic, and I would say, Modi ji, I would scream, कि कभी तो सुन ही लेंगे. I mean, I'm very optimistic that way. I never think about failures. I just look at the positive side, कि कुछ ना कुछ हो ही जाएगा. I start from that premise and refuse to give up. And that's what happened. Day one, nothing happened. Day two, on the fourth stop, he looked at me and he says, "Agle stop pe aap andar aa jaiye." I fainted and died. Did you book your ticket? No, I fainted and died because I least expected, a response, because there were people who had been camping there for 2 weeks and they were much bigger names. And he just said, next stop me. And the next stop, he had those NSG, Black Cat commandos who wouldn't let even a fly get in there. And I'm telling them कि मुझे बुलाया है, and they looked at me and said कि, I mean, what the hell, just vanished from here. And then I screamed again when he was coming to his the bus turned Rath, and I said, देखिए आपने बुलाया, ये आने नहीं दे रहे. And suddenly he said, आने दीजिए, very gruff voice. And suddenly, the crowd just dispersed, and there I walked. But practicality, my camera person was left behind in the middle. Now, a TV journalist without a camera is zero. What are you going to do? I said, "Mera camera." But that man is so practical. He says, "Arey bhai, camera aane do. Interview kaise hoga?"
Amazing.
And so the camera person came in, and then we both entered, and then he said, "You have exactly 20 minutes to the next stop, and you do your interview." Now, suddenly when I sat in front of him, I was so overwhelmed that, I was shivering. कि अब ये हो गया, now what next? यहाँ तक I had thought कि कैसे अंदर घुसेंगे, इसके बाद का तो planning किया ही नहीं है. I haven't planned anything. Now what? And so he says, I said, "Can I have a glass of water?" So he himself poured me a glass of water and said, "Pee लीजिए." आप घबराइए मत, take your time. So he says, मैं संभाल लूंगा. I said, sir, आपको नहीं संभालना है. Interview मुझे संभालना है. So when you said,
Don't want him to do it.
yeah. So and that's how. And the man, has great research. He had read my request letter. Maybe he had done his research. He knew all my headline stories from Indian Express and a couple of stories that I had done in Times Now, because it was a channel that was 1 year old at that time. And I've never felt nervous. So I did that. I came out, and the first thing I did was, return my ticket back so that I could be with my babies. And that's the only thing that ever makes me nervous, is a one-way ticket and my infrastructure at home. The rest, I think, we all can manage.
We all can manage. Yeah. So, but Navika, who's your? Everybody has a chase, You both are such passionate achievers. Okay, you are an achiever because you have a passion. You wake up with a with a purpose in your mind. What is your chase at the moment? That mujhe, is it Shah Rukh Khan or is it someone else? Whose interview do you?
We know what we're not
Whose
saying.
interview you just?
Know. We're not saying.
Tell us.
We've discussed it.
Yeah.
We can't say.
Actually, I'm always looking. I mean, one way to say it is be cynical and say, been there, done that, doesn't matter. But yes, every day you want to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
That drive is there. So if I'm doing a politician today, after an election ends, I just feel, now for 2 months, I don't want to look at a politician. I want to do Bollywood, or I want to do a musician or a singer. Do variety of things, because it's the body of work also that keeps you going. So I don't have, actually I've never had a chase in my life. I've never had a goal that, like youngsters these days, when I'm 27, I'll have done this. At 29 and a half, I would have done this. At 32, I would do this. At 40, I'd retire. This is some of the youngsters who I meet in my workspace. And of course, I have, my son and his peer group. Okay, Suchet, if
That's
you
what
can
I told
just
him.
wave
Come
to
up.
everybody.
I was saying that he must be in the first row, but he chose to sit. There he is. Is your mom as fierce at home and as relentless?
She's the mother first,
There. Now we see the softer part.
Nice.
So I've never had, life and everything in life has happened. I've never plotted, I've never planned. I've always been a very sincere and a hard worker. I've always wanted to go that extra mile to put in, whatever I have inside me into what I'm doing. But I've never thought that, I'll be the best anchor, or I'll be the editor, or I've never had these milestones in my mind. I have, lived life, and on a serious note, if I can share this, only because I see this boy with me. He, a little personal, this thing. I was at crossroads. He was born, in 2001, and he was a premature baby, came ahead of time, and very dramatically, like a Bollywood movie, either mother will survive or the child will survive kind of situation. And I was extremely possessed. No, both of us have to fight back, because that fighting spirit. we can't lose this battle. And he was in an incubator, and I would keep talking to him. And that particular moment in my life, I realized that one has to fight in life. Life doesn't, come to you on a platter with opportunities. So you have to struggle, you have to fight. You don't have to play dirty, But if you fight sincerely and if you fight with your heart and your mind, things happen. There is a guy up there who watches, will give you if you're destined and if you deserve it, will not give you if you don't deserve it, and let that decision be up to him. And therefore, I've never, set myself goals that today I'm this, tomorrow I should be that, and day after I should be this. Today I'm chasing. Yes, elections, I must get the big faces onto the channel. That is routine work as I see it. But I've never chased anything that it possesses me in a manner. No, I don't. I think life is multidimensional. You must give everything the best shot. Your work, you must worship your work, but it can't possess you all. It's not the only thing in life. There are many other things, and that keeps me going.
That's quite inspiring. So both of you have, you both aspire and you both inspire the young minds. That's the youth is holding, they are the anchors for tomorrow. And you both are doing that, you in business and you in journalism and hardcore reporting in your field. Navika, you're a potent force in what you do. We know that, and we see your work. And Mrs. Kirloskar, we see you, putting the structure together, getting it on track, and now running with your, with your plans and the vision that you had envisaged. I want to ask you, and we decided that we're not going to, the moment 3 women are sitting on stage, people start thinking, acha, up now, men bashing. We don't believe, we're not.
No, we love and respect them.
Yeah, we love and respect them, and without them, we can't operate, because usually that happens, and especially on the gender forums, this is an important thing. Or, men are, they're less sensitive, but we are more sensitive. They are this and we are that. So that's what we thought we wouldn't be touching. But I have one question from both of you, which is that you both have your success story, on, in the world which is essentially dominated by men. It's a men's world for you, which is so obvious. Men who, mostly engineers, you work very closely
Also
with the Japanese, your
which are very
partners.
male-oriented.
They're also very, very male-oriented. And yourself, when you go to a village, during the most random places where you don't even have a bathroom. Okay, forget about having a bathroom, but not even having like a corner where you can just go on the side. How you both have navigated your careers? What is the craft? Tell us about that. It should be a huge amount of learning for people, especially for the youngsters and people who, anyone and everyone in the room would want to know that.
After Vikram passed away, I felt a little more intimidated about this whole gender balance. It wasn't so in the beginning, because remember, he was leading. And so I was protected by what could have been a certain level of gender bias. But after he passed away, I was on my own. I'm facing everybody alone, without that cover as such. I believe I'm not a rebel, and I believe in harmonious coexistence with the environment. Okay? So there are every society is shaped by certain traditional values that come down generations. There's no point sitting there and fighting it. I just kept quiet when there were certain moments, and not in my company. I must say, with my Japanese partners, it's been perfect. I thought I must do a lot of homework. I must improve the quality and level of my professional competence and demonstrate that in my work and in my interaction and in my engagement with them. So your work and your intelligence and your value addition has to show for itself. And gradually, when you do that, and you do it without aggression, and you navigate your way, because that's the person I am. I don't fight, and as I said, I don't rebel. I prefer to harmoniously coexist with the environment, understand the value system of the society in which I live. And so I decided to professionally qualify for their respect. And that's not just a gender issue. Huh? It's with everybody. People accept when your son takes over the business from you. They accept even a daughter taking over. They understand. They said, it's the next generation. They understand a brother taking over, but it's very difficult for them to accept a wife taking over. You know, because they've always used to seeing her 3 steps behind. And now she's right there. You have to ensure, you do it nicely, you do it courteously, but you ensure that you contribute professionally. You
And
ensure
what about
that
the
you...
external forces, you know, especially now you are on so many platforms. You're on CII, on Indo-Japan relationship, and we're going to talk about that later. But, and also, you know, such active policy, you were so active in the policy decision-making space. And you're working with the government. So tell us about that also, how difficult is it? So,
No, I didn't find, government I found very easy. My Japanese partners and government wasn't really the problem. It's the society at large. Like I said, if you do your homework, I made sure I did my homework. I made sure I had all my data points. I have worked very hard. It hasn't come easy. I've sat up nights researching the internet for my meeting last night. I think for 15 days, a day and night I've been researching to make sure that what I say about India, to make sure that the confidence that I have to give them in their investment going forward. I made sure that I had my data points correctly. I thought of how I internalized, how would Vikram handle it? After all, he has a formula that's worked for 30 years. And then I added my own spirit and my own instinct and my own value addition, because that's the difference you make. You have to make a difference. And that's how you prove it. And people will come by. They will respect. Like Navika. She's very tough on screen. She's fearless on screen. I was just telling her this afternoon, I said, what I respect is you have to be fierce, but at the same time, you're never irreverent. She never crosses the line. And that is an amazing balance we should appreciate in her. It's not easy being a woman to do that, trust me. It's very hard.
If you ask me, in media, what appears, we fight for everybody else's equality, but it's not an equal world behind the scenes. Definitely there exists a boys' club, and women
who smoke, who go for smokes all the time, who go for a drink all the time in the evenings. So how did you break that?
It's not just that. It's like I was a reporter. Now, if I'm meeting my so-called contacts, sources from where a story is supposed to come, I can't take them out for a drink at night. You know, as a young reporter, I would meet them in the office. And reporting and getting out those, you know, very different kind of stories, that investigative stories that, you know, which are really buried and nobody talks about them openly. They happen when you create a rapport with your source. I have created that rapport during office hours, in offices of Sarkari buildings. I have not gone out to the bar for a drink. I have not met these people outside. In fact, once or twice people have said, oh, we are upstairs, why don't you come up? I have said that I will not. Even as a 25-year-old, I have told them that I don't do this. You come down to the lobby and, you know, if you're an outstation person, you come down to the lobby and speak with me, or I'm not interested in your story. Men can do that, and I don't hold it against them. I just don't hold it against them. It's just that, you know, some of us, we've had a conventional upbringing. We have our own inhibitions. I'll put it down to my own inhibition. Why put it down to anything else? Men can do that. They can take their contacts out for a drink, and after 5 drinks, every story can come pouring out. You know, sometimes, I mean, it just gets that much easier, but I don't hold it. I mean, that's the way the world is. What do? I mean, they are men, we are women. So, but sticking to your side of the decorum or whatever you want to call it, one has managed. Takes longer, maybe. Maybe once or twice you miss something. Too bad. It happens. Everybody doesn't get everything that they set their eyes on. But it's okay. But I've lived with that and I've not had a problem about that. And I've taken it in my stride. I've never held it against anybody. But yes, if a woman does good stories, your own peer group will begin to run you down. You know, oh, ye kuch, you know, something must be having a sugar daddy somewhere. There must be one sugar daddy tucked in who's giving her all this. Otherwise, how can she get it? And all women are twits as far as men are concerned. You know, till you actually, you know, give it back to them. And in the media, we are a very irreverent group of people. We say nasty things to people on their face. What's on screen, I mean, we're pretty nasty on screen as well. But behind screen, we are worse. And the newsroom is a very, very high pressure
War zone.
area. Yeah, it's like war zone because every minute something is happening. And Indian television, everybody says, oh, why do you yell? But that's what people watch. You know, I would change it, you know, if being calm, collected, beyond, nobody watches, it doesn't get any rating. They are calm, they are collected. So, you know, I would love to do that. It's much less pressure on my own system. And, you know, I will not have to pop in my blood pressure medicines. But it doesn't work. That's not, I mean, Indians are argumentative and they love Sneha Kumar. Today, you see the Dushyant Dave crying, that is the clip that is going viral. Anything normal doesn't go viral. So, you know, that space they don't think women can handle. A woman as an editor is not thought of. English space, there have been, now I run a Hindi channel. And in the Hindi space, there's never ever been a woman editor as the editor of a Hindi channel. And
how did you take over that challenge when you knew you were part of, you know, this is what you've done in the last so many years?
I don't overthink things. I always feel I'm not Amitabh Bachchan कि भाई मेरा नाम खराब हो जाएगा अगर ये पिक्चर बॉम्ब हो गई तो. We are normal human beings. There'll be success and there'll be failures. करके देखते हैं. Maybe we'll succeed. In everything, there's a 50% probability that it can succeed. So look at that 50% rather than looking at that negative 50% that it may not succeed. I'm very positive. I never think of the doomsday scenario. You know, I block it out of my mind. Doomsday scenario will come to it when we've exhausted all other options. Then we'll think, okay, now what is my plan B or C or D? But why do you want to begin a quest with a plan B, C, D? Begin with plan A and just go for it. Nahi hoga, phir dekhenge. So I just went in with it. I just thought to myself, the company was setting up a new channel. They said, you know, you'll have to start it up and then we'll see. Start it up. I mean, we started with the first couple of big stories and then one got identified with those. And now I go to Mofussil towns and I get recognized and I feel, arey yaar, Badayun mein bhi mujhe log jante hain. So that's Hindi. And it's okay. I mean, it's not rocket science. Everybody knows how to do news. Sometimes that Hindu-Muslim gets a little bit ugly. So I stay away from that. Other anchors can handle that. I do my political debates. And I'm learning, I mean, I know Hindi. I grew up in Bihar, erstwhile Bihar, now Jharkhand. So I know my Hindi. And if you've been, I've done my entire schooling in Bihar, then you know politics also. And then you are a survivor, basically. And then Bihar and Punjabi blood is a great cocktail. So, and I've studied in Maharashtra. So, you know, pretty much all over the place. Ho jata hai. And now, sometimes those Hindi channel men think that, you know, my sensibilities will be different. Then I'm pretty much UP ka bhaiya with them. Then I speak to them in the language they are used to hearing. हाँ वो सब भी सीख लिया है. From convent to this, it's been a journey. But at the end of the day, one can only say this, that I have my two colleagues also sitting here. One thing I don't know, I don't want to second guess them. They might think that I'm the worst boss ever. But I think at the end of the day, whether they admit or not, there is some teeny weeny little shreds of respect. She knows her job. That's about it. And I think that's all that you need. You should know your job, you should know your craft, and you should not be a pushover. It's fine. The rest works out.
So to you, Mrs. Kirloskar, you mentioned about Japan. So, when you look at Japan, the growth of women empowerment. In fact, I did a little research. Only 15% women are the CEOs in Japan. Whereas in India, the data says 2024, there are 23% women and also Indian origin who've become the CEOs globally. What is it that's missing when you sit with your partners, the Japanese partners? What is it that you tell them? What is your advice that if you could advise them, if you could advise also the Indians on how you empower your women and, your women workforce?
I haven't really I don't want to advise them on that at all for the time being, frankly. But I think Japan is realizing as a country that they need to look out generally. Now that would, there are a lot of factors. Language is one. But today they've realized that in the region, if they have to come out and if they have to, because of geopolitics, if they have to follow a China +1 strategy, then they have to open up. And I think part of opening up would, of course, be encouraging their women force to come to the forefront. We know that across a lot of our joint venture companies, they are now engaging and hiring women on the shop floor. So that is happening. And I think that's happening not just with us. It's happening across manufacturing companies. I was at Bharat Fritz Werner, and in their plant 3, I think almost 70 to 80% right from the start are women on the shop floor. And they said that we are going to have 100% women on the shop floor in the next 2-3 years. So it's changing.
But you are a very established, in fact, the most well-established name and icon in Indo-Japan relationship. What do you think that today, and of course we spoke about, you mentioned about geopolitics, and it's important, and Japan is a very solid alliance, and ally of India and Indian government. How do you think the Indian government, and what is your effort in nurturing this relationship? How should it go to the level that you are conceiving?
So the Indian government has set very stiff targets, almost 4-5 trillion yen over the next few years. So a lot of initiatives are being undertaken by the government to bridge the gap. But the most important thing with the Japanese, I've learned through Vikram and my experience, there are 4 guiding principles that you have to follow if you want to enhance your relationship with them and build it. One, as I said, is build trust. Their entire partnership functions on the basis of trust. And it takes a very long time to build trust. Second is respect. In every aspect of their interaction with you, you have to show respect and you have to give respect, and then you will earn respect. And you have to institutionalize respect. It isn't a one-off. Third is humility. I find, it's like if a nail sticks out, you hammer it back. They really believe in humility, and I learned this from them. I was in Japan at the Science and Technology for Society Forum, where I was speaking, in fact, on diversity in the science community. And before that, they had a minister. And then suddenly, this lady comes in very robust. She's not very tall, but very robust. So she came in, and 10 of us had been identified to have breakfast with her and talk about our countries and how we've evolved in terms of the streams of science and technology, etc. So when she came in, she came up to us and she gave us a visiting card with a bow. I also don't carry a visiting card, frankly. But I learned from the Japanese. Now I have, even in my bag right now, I have visiting cards. I just made it a habit that you do not take it for granted. You still believe that you need to introduce yourself. This is a mark of respect. It's not humility, it is also respect. So that is very important for them. And if they feel that, it's all about you and it's not about the organization, it's not about management by consensus, then they tend to recoil. And so that is something that we're formulating. How do we institutionalize a certain work culture? How do we document these things? How do we train Indian industry, especially MSMEs? because MSMEs are the backbone of our economy and their economy. And what Japan now wants to do is engage their MSMEs with Indian companies. They want to do business in India and find local partners. And last, of course, when you work with Japanese is patience. That is very, very important. So these are some of the important things, because we have a template which integrates and incorporates mind, body and culture training, so that the psyche of the people is also trained in addition to the Japanese language. They've also trained them on body and culture and mind, how to think, how to feel, how to emote, and what are the values that they value.
And so a bunch of, youngsters come to you and they say, please help us to start business. Which areas they should actually look into? Where are the opportunities in the business space?
Right now, they're very keen to do startups in India, in IT, in software, in spaces like that. They're very, very keen to work on startup partnerships. There's also semiconductors in a big way. In fact, we've had a lot of discussions on identifying Indian partners for the Japanese for semiconductor equipment manufacture and component materials. And that's one huge thrust area that the Japanese are looking at in India, besides startups.
I'm going to come back to you for the counter question once. I have one important question from her, and I think I would like you to reflect on that. Navika, your job entails on daily basis from morning. It's a 24/7 job, which dwells into, getting a pulse of the country, of India today. How do you, and you have to say this from the gut, okay? Right from the gut, I want you to respond on this. What is India's position globally? How is India perceived across the world? And what is the condition of, what are the genuine struggles of an average Indian man?
So I don't know if this room has left liberals or a right-wing thought leaders. Yeah, whoever you are, I don't give a damn. I'll say what I say. India is no, it's not shining at all. But India's got an attitude. It's got a profile now which it did not have. We were always called a third world developing country. We're still developing. We still have a large mass of people, who need to be brought above a certain per capita income level. Those challenges still remain. Having said that, and I say this with utmost seriousness, what has changed in the last 1 decade in India is, today the anonymous Indian feels empowered. He feels, मैं किसी बड़े बाप का बेटा नहीं हूँ, बेटी नहीं हूँ, बड़े बाप का, लेकिन मैं कुछ कर सकता. That sense of being able to do something is something that has come in. Now you will say that politicians come and go. Yes, they come and go. But that self-pride of, otherwise everybody would say, oh, in India it works like this only. India is like this only. That was what we were used to saying about our country. Now, that is not the lingo that is used. You talk to youngsters, you talk to people on the streets. When you talk to them, people say, badla to hai. And I'm talking about people in lower middle class, people in rural areas, people, working people in different walks of life. People definitely admit one thing, that Indians have a lot more confidence in themselves and what they can do. And the stature of India, make no mistake, has grown. Now, is it due to, a person heading a government? I don't know. We can debate that, and we can have a lovely news hour on that. And we'll have points of view from both sides. Maybe this is something this is a stage in the life of a nation that had to come regardless of the person. But many people feel that the person and the value systems have been a catalyst in getting India to that position. Before this, it was always about the entitled lot. Now, entitlement is not important. And I say this even from my own personal experience. I'm not an Oxbridge kind of a person. You know, my schooling has been entirely in Jharkhand. My +2 has been in Pilani. My graduation has been Bombay University, but in Goa. My post-graduation in Pune. I've never been to a foreign university. I did apply, got a scholarship, but nth minute my parents said, no, we want you to get married and you shouldn't go. And I'm talking about the late 80s and the early 90s when, again, we were not rebels. Conventional upbringing, father in a public sector job, retiring, you know, there are timelines that they have in their lives. You just fall in line. And the rest can be got through sheer hard work. I've had the confidence. I've not been in a public school in Delhi or Bombay or anywhere. But I compete in the big bad world of Delhi. Everybody is there with whatever, they have. So that feel of the ground I get, that is the sense I get. There is a danger area that I'm looking at where competitive politics is pushing us into a direction that will be extremely, extremely terrible for a country like ours, which is the free rations, the 8,500 khatakhat coming into your bank. People don't want to work now.
Yeah, with all the
in
freebies.
the villages, people do not want to work. The only thing that India, held its own on was the labor force. The fact that we are a hardworking. Even our students will do medicine, engineering, sciences. Unlike the Americans, where very few students opt for the tougher courses. Most of them do the easier courses. That's that sense of industry that workers had. That class is going away, which is not such a good thing, because this freebie politics and competitive politics is going to create a class. And the sooner we wake up and smell the coffee, the better it is. This woman empowerment will go. Women will be working. Even now, if you go to some of these hilly states, the men are drunk. They are not working. The women are working. And, education will be an issue because, if the women are working in the fields, how much time are they spending in bringing up the next generation is also going to be an issue. And there will be dropouts in rural areas unless we have our system. So these are some of the areas as a country we need to spend time. Right now we are not doing it because elections have to be won and all's fair in love and war. And it's mostly war out there. And I feel, somewhere, what is the conversation that is happening? What is the government being taken on the mat for? For EDN? For ED, CBI? Is anybody talking about policy? Nobody is talking. Education, when is the last time there was a parliament hangama on education systems, dropout rates, women. I mean, those debates are not happening. It's the 2-minute noodle kind of situation. Every day one thing comes, and we are equally guilty as the media because quick to understand, fast to debate, good TRPs, slanging matches and out. But frankly, I believe we alone can't change the world. If the opposition is only going to talk about, Adani, wealth creators are bad, Adani, Ambani are bad, then what are we talking about? The real issues that are there, we're not looking at it. And as a country, we need to just focus on that and wake up. Because we are having elections every other day. It doesn't suit me as a news channel for one nation, one election, because where will all this rhetoric go? 5 saal, kuch hoga hi nahi. There'll be no activity. Nobody will be abusing anybody else. Where will we get our stories from?
One day only, one day.
So once in 5 years, if they do elections, mera dhanda is choppered. I don't know about anybody else. But frankly, these are issues that we need to talk about. And, we're not. As a country, we are not. Because itna time, itna homework, itna research, nobody wants to do. So,
But you have the access and you have the comfort, or at least, people who have. Do you ever discuss this with the parliamentarians that bring forward these issues? Or is it just completely madness in the parliament?
you think
30 years you've been in this profession.
You think those big politicians who run the country are waiting for my advice? I mean, I'm very thankful to you that you put me in, on a pedestal and think that people are waiting for my advice. Well, they are an election-winning machinery. They know what they have to do, and media is the last place they are looking for advice from. And it's just that, one's been around for so long and one's done the kind of work. And not the only, but a big reason why you get entertained or respected or access is because you don't ask for anything. The day you ask, and a lot of media, and that is why I'm very proud to come from a media house like the Times Group, where, being a woman is not a disadvantage. Nobody is judging me on my gender. There are other channels, and I'm not saying this, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this from a competitive point of view. I'm just saying that there are value systems and then there are commercial organizations. The Times Group will always come from a value system because it has a legacy of 186 years. And that's not a small time. And they're very, very conscious of that legacy. So, if I'm uncomfortable doing something, I just have to pick up the phone now and talk to my boss that I'm not comfortable doing this story in this form to appease somebody. I'm not okay with this. And he will tell me, Navika, do exactly what your conscience tells you to do. Happens in very few places now. And women, gender is not a problem. We come from homes where girls have not been treated differently from boys. I have raised 2 boys, and I have a completely male household. But they give the respect and space that a woman should have. So we have to build a society like that. Otherwise, it does. Apne aap kuch nahi hota. Nothing happens automatically. And we need to now worry about some of these things. Our politics is going off track. We really, and my biggest worry is that I don't know how many people who are in this room actually go to vote. That is why we don't get to choose the right kind of governments. And this awareness, it's not a chutti day. This awareness, this sense of duty we need to get. This is our patriotism. Patriotism is not ke bhai 26 January ko, we listen to some nice songs from yesteryear. So my sense is that that's the dialogue that needs to happen in this country.
I'm glad that you've listed these points and people have absorbed it. Now, yourself, Mrs. Kirloskar, you know, as a global business citizen, you're interacting with the global leaders in the businesses. What do you think when you walk in now into meetings? What is the positioning of India, and what are India's actual strengths, and what are the challenges?
Definitely, there is an increased pride of ownership about the India brand. When we walk in, like Navika said, at every level, I mean, she spoke about the common man, but even in industry and business, when we are up, today everything is global. All business is international, right? Import, export, partnerships, joint ventures, you can't exist in isolation. So when we go out into the world, and even when I go out from different trade forums to different countries on delegations, there is a huge amount of respect that we are received with. And we don't feel subservient. So that pride of ownership has definitely come in. That's, I think, also because India today is the only country that offers an option to China. One of India's biggest strengths is its scale. India is scale. That's what it offers to the world. So for in manufacturing, for example, there is a globally competitive export potential embedded because of scale in India, because of economies of scale. So it's easier. And friendshoring by European countries is also now increasing. And the world is looking at us for that. So that we find there is a more enabling environment when you're dialoguing with the international community and with a sense of power and with the pride of ownership. Yeah, you're not in that subservient mode anymore. And that's again because of geopolitics and various reasons. So I think scale is India's biggest strength. I think to come back to the man on the street, the common man, you know, I find that he's given up in a way. And it's that I will do well in spite of and not because of. That's what industry has realized, and that's what the man on the street has realized. That value now resonates across psychographic and demographic profiles in the country. Everybody, we just want to go ahead and do it now. The country has given us an opportunity. There's a momentum. There is growth. There's an enabling government. Let's do it. If you look at it, we shouldn't let this opportunity go. This is the India century, actually. And this is one country that doesn't have a crisis of leadership.
Is that a good thing?
What?
Many people in this country are having meltdowns because it's the same government.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. You know, in business, I think we just feel comfortable because we feel there's policy stability and we want continuity. And then we see the rest of the world and we realize that there is no crisis of leadership here. And I'm very positive on India for some reason. I believe we should not look at the deficit, and there's a lot going for us. It is the India century.
That's wonderful to hear. That there's a lot
Each
of
one
hope
of
now.
us believes that India is the flavor, and India is here. We'll fight through in our own mad way, and we'll come out.
In spite of, not because of.
Yeah.
I had a few more questions, but I'm going to engage the audience. But before we get to the audience, we have 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. But before we get to that, this section is only about that you're going to answer. You can't skip the answers, and you have to answer only in one sentence.
Navika,
okay.
She's very good.
No, it's for both of you. Today's
normally
my
I give her
today.
I normally do this with other people. I've never thought that I would be in this.
No, I'm
So
giving
who would go first?
No, Navika.
Huh? Navika?
Yeah.
Okay. So, though I thought that Mrs. Kirloskar should go first.
No.
Okay.
Now we're going by popular vote.
Okay. So, my first question is, what is the fundamental difference or fundamental advantage and disadvantage of being a popular face in broadcast medium?
Advantage is just maybe a little happy feeling inside, and now not so much personally, but if my mom's with me, or if my husband's with me, they get very impressed. Navika, they recognized you at the airport. So for them, and when your mom feels happy, you feel very happy. And my mother will always say, I never realized my daughter's a big shot. So when it comes from your mom, I think it's so sweet and this thing. So that's the advantage that it makes, God bless her, in her old age, makes her happy. And used to make my dad happy, and I'm very proud of you. And that, what I want to say also here is that even my husband, initially when I started off, on this, no timings of going or coming and whatever, but he's so proud of what I do that, he has that little glint in his eye when, I get recognized. So that's the advantage.
We all know about Delhi Darbar, and we know the Lutyens' coterie. How has it changed?
They have not changed.
No, okay, so who is the
You want
new
me to
Delhi
name?
Darbar? Yes,
Yeah.
5 names
You want
that
your
you have
viral
to-
content?
Yeah, yes.
I know, but
Okay, how do you define the new? Do
Okay,
you?
can you
this
I don't
the
wait.
personalities? Don't
Describe.
name the
Okay,
name.
that's a good one. Describe the personalities.
I
the new
don't-
Lutyens.
I knew Lutyens.
Yeah.
They would like to think we
I know
are.
where she's
Huh.
going.
But I don't waste my time thinking about others. Yeah, to each their own. I have no say. I'm not a saint. I have. I probably over a drink say a few things about how they are entitled and how they always
Like who?
things. People that
Okay.
and people
I know many
in this
people.
room. I don't.
I have
think-
friends.
no. I'm just saying they've had their time under the sun. Now, right now, may not be their time. Every dog and
has
pup have their days.
Yeah.
And,
What is the overlap between journalism and fiction?
well, some journalists are not journalists; they're actually actors who put up a performance.
Like who?
I'm not naming anybody. I mean, I
Ambreen is
think
not
this is a
giving up.
room full of people, thinking people who have great imaginations.
They'll come to their conclusion.
So I leave it to their imagination. But yes, some people are actors, and then there are journalists.
The nation wants to know.
I got scared with that. She's more fierce than Navika. We have more
The nation
relentless.
already knows, my dear.
And if Rahul Gandhi made you the spokesperson for his party, what would you be saying? Any 3 things?
Spokesperson for his party. First, I would be having to get some clearance from him, no?
Yeah.
On
so
certain
hypothetical.
issues. I don't think there is a remote possibility of that.
Okay, now, so, okay.
It's been 10 years that I've been asking for an appointment and even for spokespersons to come on my channel.
Not even the spokesperson.
Once in a while, some people come. I mean, I know all of them, and I've known all of them longer than I've known the current lot. Because, when one started journalism in 1990, for a long period, these guys used to be in government. So, I've known them for 33 years or so as a young reporter. Even before my marriage, I've known them, and but they don't want to engage, and they want subservience, which is not possible to do. I would not be subservient to anybody. I only am subservient to one person up there. I will not be subservient to anybody else. I have my views, they have their views, and I can only bring one honest thing to the table, which is I will give you your opportunity to put your point of view.
Yeah.
And after that, I will cross question. As a journalist, that's my right and my duty to do. But they don't want to engage. I'm the boycotted anchor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this. Interesting.
10 years
Many people
now.
didn't know this.
Yeah, no, they before the Lok Sabha elections, they took out a list of 14 journalists who were boycotted. Yeah.
Did you top the list?
No, alphabetically I'm N, no?
Okay.
So, thank God for that. If my name was Ambreen, I would be on top.
should I add to this? So now over.
You're a Khan. And you can get, and this has been held
but
against
not
me, and
because,
which is why the older Latvian circuit, I have a problem because I've done Karva Chauth Vrats, and whatever, and I'm not typically the trouser jacket because I just don't have the body type. But they expect an anchor to be that. But I don't fit into that so-called definition. So
We're
they
getting there.
expect you to, conform to a certain look and feel. I never did, not because that I have a problem. It's just that I don't look, good in it, too huge to wear something and carry it off. And it doesn't add to my confidence, so why wear it? So I have the next best thing, which is the traditional sari that I wear. So sometimes they say, "Oh God, you're really khati." You have killed our
This is not NDTV for
by
sure. This
keeping
is not
the
NDTV
Karva
for sure.
Chauth and you don't even smoke. Oh God! And you're running home to get homework done for your kids. What's going on?
It's a kind of mundane for them, no?
Very,
You're letting them down.
very ordinary.
Let me deconstruct the question.
Oh my God.
2014, there were two phenomenal faces. Which one was Arnab Goswami and one was Navika Kumar.
I knew that.
Okay, we've seen phenomenal rise.
2014, Navika Kumar was not the face.
Okay, so Navika Kumar was the face from 2018? 17, 18. Huh? So, mota. So, okay, so I've taken two names. Now you've absorbed these two names. What has been your cutting edge journalism that's kept you ahead of others?
Ambreen, I was never an anchor, and I was a reporter at heart and at craft, and so my stories have been in Express, Guns for My Sons. This is the finance minister, the then finance minister signing the first file, which was in the olden days, all the custom seized weapons. The only people who could buy it were MPs. So the auction was done for them. And I had done this story because the first file the then finance minister signed was giving those guns to his sons who were not MPs. And the first file was, taking weapons which were worth lakhs and picking it up for a few thousands because it came at that rate for MPs. So, those kind of stories. I've done one story which was all Supreme Court judges had got a MTNL mobile phone in return for the antenna that was put on the Supreme Court building. And that story of mine stood on the desk of my editor for 3 weeks because he needed legal advice. Jail to nahi jana padega. There were 26 Supreme Court judges against whom the story was because each one of them had taken that phone. And the question I had raised was, I had an MTNL file noting which said that it would be good marketing strategy to keep a relationship with the honorable judges because we have a lot of cases in court. Trust public sector MTNL to even write that in a note. Smarter bureaucrats would not have written it that way today. But I had that document, and plus I questioned that all the salaries and perks of judges were decided by an act of parliament. Nobody can give themselves any perk unless it goes through the parliament. So we had done that. Story, and then I had done the Commonwealth Games, the 2G scam, then Sheesh Mahal and all of that. Yeah. So I've always been different from other anchor editors. That I've not been a quintessential anchor. I've always been a reporter, journalist.
Not
who
a
was
studio reporter in
who
pant
was
shirt.
pushed into a corner when a certain editor left the group, and there was a vacuum and the joke was that no anchor in town wanted to fill the shoes at 9 p.m. because nobody wanted to compete with him. So I said, I'm a soldier, jahan bhi khada kar do, lad lenge. So you put me wherever you want to put me. So the company decided to put me at 9 o'clock, and here I am.
Prime time.
Prime time. You're a prime time.
I could have flopped and my career would have been over. But like I said, I never think about the negatives. Give it your best shot. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, we'll think about it.
Now over to
the audience.
First, very short 4 questions. We are not allowing you to skip it. Who do you live for at a personal level?
Right now, I think I live for myself because I have to survive the next couple of years. And I think one thing I learned after Vikram, I've learned to be selfish, because I think selfish in the sense that I need to live for myself. And I need to, and even when I say I am carrying forward Vikram's legacy, that's giving me a deep sense of satisfaction because I feel he's still there. So it's important, I think, to live for yourself, to value yourself, and then to be able to contribute.
May I come in here?
Yes.
Please don't feel guilty about this, and none of us. If we are living for ourselves, it's our right, and you're doing it now at this stage of life when you've worked through your life and actually earned this space for yourself. So please don't feel guilty about it. None of us should. At whichever stage it happens to us, working for oneself and living for oneself is okay. It's
you know, up to a point, I was living for us. Now, when the us factor is not there, I'm living for myself because I'm fighting alone. So it's not that. Very nice question. Very easy. All of them are like this,
They're
no?
very, very simple ones. Which is today, what is the most unconceivable dream that you have?
I haven't thought
you
that
have
far
a
ahead. I
dream
mean, I'm
which
right
you
now
think,
fighting a battle to handle things that are very conceivable and predictable. What is unconceivable dream? I think the one unconceivable dream, even what I would really like to do and seems very unrealistic, right, and very far. I would just love to retreat out of life. I love nature and spend 3 years in mountaineering and hiking across the world in the most beautiful landscapes without a care in the world. And that is something which is inconceivable to me right now. Even 2 days doing it is inconceivable.
And Geetanjali Kirloskar, if I know her, will do what she sets her heart.
Oh my God, thank you.
Inshallah.
I think I really need that encouragement. Thank you, Navika, and from you, from such a strong, wonderful person.
One piece.
The strong one.
Yeah, you're so strong and so smart. It's not easy to be in your shoes. The way things have happened and the way you've
with
taken
those
control.
heels.
And those
You know, I
heels
must
you're
tell
running.
you, I never wear heels. I never wear heels. Those who know me, Vanita, I don't know if you're here. I never wear heels, right? I don't ever. I don't know what got into me. So this is it, you know. Sometimes you
Yes,
just want
that's
to.
the attitude.
That is the
Just
attitude.
go conquer.
Wear that pointed heel and get out.
Conquer
So what
the
if you
world.
trip and fall? It's fine.
And the last question is that if you... This is the fourth and the last question. That if you were in Navika's shoes, one day, if you were the editor and you were in Navika's... You had Navika's office, her authority, you know, the media honcho. How would you construct your day?
Media doesn't have an organized day.
That's right. Actually, they don't.
Okay, how would she structure her day? So one...
Structured hota hi nahi hai na. It's an oxymoron. Media and structure, oxymoron. There is no structure in our day.
If she had hired you as her CEO, what would you do?
If she hired you as a...
If Mrs. Kirloskar hires Navika Kumar as the CEO of her company, what would you be doing, Navika?
She'll, what is it? I'll be sort of, what do you say?
Redundant.
Redundant. That's the best thing. That's the best thing when you bring in
As the
a
managing
strong
member.
leader
As-
to
I've
make
never
yourself
worked anywhere
redundant.
but media, so I don't even know
As
if
a
I
chairperson.
qualify to even dream about
And
that.
I don't think I qualify to sit in her room the whole day. My goodness. I'd be scared. I wouldn't know what to do.
Wish we had more time in hand, but we have to take 4 to 5 questions from the audiences. Please identify yourself and ask.
And is Loya going to give us a nice dinner after all this?
Loya is. Satyajit is already.
Because, we've been drooling on your brand. This entire conversation, this whole initiative, this whole engagement is about a food brand, a culinary excellence food brand. So now we're hungry.
So Richa and me are very old friends, and closest friends. So first question goes to her.
Thank you. Okay, to both of you, the conundrum between what's good for business and what feels right for you. How do you navigate that?
What's good for the gender? What's good? What's good for your business?
There's like TRPs versus something which is so against your grain. How do you deal with that boundary, on a day-to-day basis? I'm sure this happens with both of you.
I think not so much in business as such. I don't know. I mean, I guess, for a big industry, you really look at how much you want to invest in let's say, the balance between your investment in business versus in sustainability and environment and diversity. That's sort of a value system that probably could be a conflict. But I think, there's not. Yes, I'll tell you, perhaps ethic and governance has been critical values to people like us, where I come from, the kind of business background I come from. Today, you need to move very fast in a globally competitive world. And sometimes speed is very essential. And so you do cut corners and you do compromise because you have to get there somehow. So sometimes that sort of a conflict happens, but not in the kind of business that I'm working in. But that could be a huge conflict for people in industry or people in business. But we don't, because that's when you're in a legacy business and you've been brought up to do business with a certain value system, you don't do that. Those choices are not there to be made. They've already been made. You've decided that you're not going to. So I don't know, in Navika's business, how you balance the conscience. It's tricky.
Tell us a story.
It's not tricky. It's an everyday occupational hazard, if I may say so. And I'll give you an example without taking names. There was a story that we did maybe last year sometime, or around maybe a couple of years ago, and it was about a certain political leader, and we had the story, and we knew that. Am I allowed to be irreverent and use any kind of words? Okay. So I knew shit would hit the ceiling. So I knew shit would hit the ceiling, and there would be calls all over. Normally, editors want to handle in their own way everything. But then it goes above your level and goes, to your bosses. And I knew this one would. And I was apprehensive. So before we sort of formalized and decided that we were going ahead with the story, I had put it all out on the table. And I was told, it's okay, we'll back you, go ahead. And I told them that it will mean a lot of jhamelas that will come your way, including, cutting government ads, this, that, whichever government it was. On that day, those people came and sat in the office, and it was literally like an auction at Sotheby's. Acha, we'll give you this much. Stop the story. Okay, we up the rate. We'll give you this. I said, it's not my decision to make.
In form of advertising.
Yeah, in form of advertising for the company. And we'll give this much, we'll give that much. Just junk the story. Again, I come back and say it also depends on the group that you work for. And, this one, my company has the gall to stand up and say that, no, we are not selling this one. So that's the safety net that Times Group provides you, which maybe other organizations may not. And therefore, been there, done that. We also live in the real world. If there are very little adjustments that have to be made, we all make them in our lives. And, I don't like those lectures from the pulpit that come in, ke bhai, hum to aise nahi. Everybody does it, but they come out very sanctimonious about it. So a little bit, as they say, 19-20 one can do, but I'm not going to put out a wrong story, or I'm not going to kill a story that I've got or my reporter has got, because that then creates, if it is sometimes that, okay, just hold on for a bit, sometimes you have to do it. More often than not, we get around.
Just to add, Indian Express, where I work, and I've been working for 2 decades, it's exactly the same. You worked with the Indian Express,
For 10
it's
years.
exactly for 10
years.
There is there's just no slip.
No pressure.
No pressure. The pressure is immense.
Yeah, no, not
and,
to deviate,
and you can see the pressure on the editor-in-chief's faces and, of course, the promoters. But the way they handle this, Richa, is, thank God that we have very, very...
All of us actually.
There are
Very, very
still
dignified.
some
There are
organizations
still some organizations.
where the good old journalism survives.
Okay, question at the back, and then we'll take one of the questions from your son's, Suchi's friends. Yeah. That group we must take.
Hi, my name is Smita. My question is for Mrs. Kirloskar. You mentioned earlier that there are companies which are going from a 70% to 100% women force on the shop floors, etc. I feel that when you have a mix of gender, right, like a men and women in any group of an industry or corporate, it brings in a different kind of balance. It kind of brings in perspectives from both genders, which could be different at times. So do you think that it's actually a good thing that we in some areas and in certain groups, we just want to have 100% women?
No. I completely appreciate your point, because you need diversity, and that's why you have women and men. You want the diversity, you want perspectives that are different to come together. When I said that, I meant that there are organizations, manufacturing companies specifically, that are attempting to give greater opportunity to women. So they're providing a huge opportunity by probably having one of their units go completely women. That's the one that I visited. They said that as of now, we have about 30-40% of the first phase of our employment on the shop floor is women, but we're going to take it up, to about 80-90%, almost 100%. So that was one unit. That was their way of giving a large opportunity to those women. And probably they didn't see the need for that level of diversity on the shop floor. This is on the shop floor. They didn't feel that, a man and women combined could add greater value than just say only women or only men. But yes, in management, it would be very, very important. In fact, I think, I was talking to a startup VC, and he said a lot of men, boys, girls, young men and women are coming to him with great ideas. And he said somebody asked him this question, that do you promote and do you spend a little more effort and time for the women? And he said, I don't care about the gender. I just look at the proposal, I see the merit of the proposal, and I take an investment decision. So, it's if you get too conscious about this, that no, I have this department, I'm going to hire 5 people, 2.5 are going to be women, and the balance 2.5 are going to be men, then you are creating a bias in your mind. You have to go by competence. And women also have to fight on competence. It has to be a level playing field in every way. Right? So that point is very important, that for diversity means bringing in different genders, different perspectives, different dimensions. So that's important, yes.
Any question from here and from the back? You want some men also to ask questions.
Oh,
Rich,
so far only the...
Yeah, only. But
I think it's...
Yeah, hi, I'm Samir. I used to be with the World Bank in Washington and currently raise funds for 3 EV scooter companies here. So my question, actually I have a question for both of you, but in the interest of time, I'll just ask one to Navika. So I guess there's a general sentiment now, we all hear the term Kodi media. We keep hearing this over and over again. As someone who's been interested and follows media quite closely, there's very few people I listen to in Indian media, I'll be honest. I listen to Palki and I listen to you. And
You've got good taste, is all I can say.
And there used to be a point in time when NDTV was considered to have a slightly different perspective. We all know the change in ownership that's happened. Where is the alternative perspective today in Indian media? I mean, we see it perhaps in First Post, we see it in Wire, but we don't see an alternative channel which can actually give a different perspective from what would generally be considered the mainstream perspective. So I'd like to know your views on that.
So may I tell you, we are a generation that's grown up on a lot of newspapers and magazines first, and that's the kind of journalism that we are used to. Now, when you look at television, see the advantage that newspapers have is people write, and very often readers will not even read the byline of the person. So the personality of the journalist doesn't come in the way of your reading the news item. Now cut to television. Television is very personalized. It's simply we are on air. The person who's on air, their mannerisms, their way of speaking, everything is dissected, and dissected to such a level that, oh, she looked, I mean, it might just have been one of those things that my producer said something in my ear and I'm looking ke bhai, something weird is not coming in the frame. But, it gets seen as, oh, she made a face or she looked sideways. So I'm saying, television is a lot different than what quintessential print journalism was. And especially when you do a primetime debate kind of a show. People in India have opinions. If you are bland on the fence in the middle, your debate doesn't take off and people don't get involved. People are watching debates because they've read their news on their mobiles these days. So they know the headlines. They come here कि आज इस बात पे who's going to take on who and what point. And what is the anchor? How's the anchor, putting the cracker out there? Anar hai ki nahi? What kind of a firecracker is it? That kind of thing. So somebody calls me Godi media, calls, people who are right wing. I mean, like, for example, with the permission of Ambreen Khan, I just feel that if somebody is saying, I'm a Hindu and I'm proud to be Hindu, what's the problem? Because we've never asked anybody a question in the past if they were talking about their religion, whether it's a Sikh or a Muslim. Now you become Godi because Modi wears his religion on his sleeve and now these anchors. Pehle log bolte nahi the because people... This was not the grammar of conversations and people kept their thoughts within. Now people are expressing openly. And it's fine. Reasonable people can have reasonable debates. The unreasonable part of this only comes from the politicians because they are playing to a different ball game. Their game is not what our game is. You see, so you call me a Godi media, it doesn't make any difference to me. But you guys didn't call those Lutyens 5 any names because they were also doing that other journalism before 2014. And I'm not one of those people who says that this country got independence in 2014. I don't believe so. But those guys played to the gallery at that time. Why were they not called Godi? I want to ask. And even today, whatever... Mr. Rahul Gandhi says, if they agree with it, but they are not Godi. They are independent journalists. Wire is independent. It gets many stories wrong. I'm not saying all. Nobody gets all wrong. Many stories wrong because it begins with an agenda. Journalism cannot be based on an agenda. Journalism is a story. If it fits in with your agenda, cheers to that. If it doesn't, too bad. The story still has to be told. So, but if you want to see, me and my tribe as Godi journalists, your call. Your call. It doesn't, I mean, it's not, I don't take it to heart at all. That's anybody. But I'm just saying that people with the other perspective also are there. In television, if you don't take a line, those narratives or debates don't work, which is why you see nobody is middle of the road. Everybody is one side or the other side. Because that is the only way people engage with you. And if you want to blame us for that, be my guest. But it's also the engagement that the audience want. And that audience is people like you and me.
I didn't mean that personally against you at all. I just
No, even if it is, I get called that.
I
So
just said I listened to Palki and to you. So it's just that people refer to you that way.
Many people call me Godi Media. And my social media timeline is full of it. I've stopped reading it because people's views matter so long as they are on my show. Otherwise, if social media is an extremely abusive space. It doesn't bother me. It's all right. I mean, if other people want to think that they are Jesus Christ, good luck to them.
One question from Young India. Suchi, now your gang.
Suchi.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Harnad. I head the WTF Fund. We're investors, and one of the things that we have been trying to figure out a way to invest in and haven't been able to is manufacturing. You spoke about the demographic dividend. You spoke about how a lot of young Indians don't want to work. So I think it's a double-ended question here, right? How do we get the manufacturing sector, as the private sector, as private investors, how do we incentivize the manufacturing sector and make it a space where we can put in money effectively? And how do you create the dignity of labor around manufacturing, which allows young Indians to look at it as a prospective career instead of thinking that white collar job nahi mila, isliye hum manufacturing mein ja rahe hain. How do we make skill-based careers a reality for a lot of young Indians who are the demographic dividend and are unable to capitalize on it because of lack of opportunity? It's been something we've struggled with internally as a thesis. So I'd love to know.
So you mean that you want the young Indians want to have an opportunity to work in the manufacturing sector? So what is the barrier to entry there? Really?
No, I think it's a two-barreled problem. That young Indians, we've grown up in a liberalization era where white collar was the good thing to do. You know, your parents wanted you to be in an office cubicle wearing a shirt. Now, we built a services sector around it, and there's a select number of us who've benefited from it immensely. A lot of people don't have that opportunity, either lack of access, lack of education, lack of, whatever it is. That is one problem. So how do you change the thought process that manufacturing is a lesser job in some way or form, Like you look at China, how they created trade and skilling based opportunities. How does India do that? Because
like IT did here.
Exactly.
They gave a lot of opportunity with very high salaries.
So that is one question. The second question is, it is so difficult to invest in manufacturing today as a small investor. I'm not talking conglomerate or JV money. I'm talking venture capital money. It's not a lot of it. How do we invest in manufacturing to incentivize manufacturing in India more effectively? Because at this point, we can't do it. We can't do it because there is so much red tape and there is so much lack of policy initiative around manufacturing for indigenous manufacturers that we are incapable of looking at returns reasonably. So unless you have JV or, like I said, conglomerate money, SME level manufacturing is not happening in India because
it isn't. No, I know, because currently that's the problem, I guess, because 16% of GDP manufacturing is contributing, and the target is to go up to 25-30% if you really want to go into the top 4 nations of the world, right? I think skilling is one constraint that the manufacturing industry is facing, especially MSMEs. Our Prime Minister set a target. He wants India to be the factory of the world, to shift from services to manufacturing. China is moving from manufacturing to services. So there are, they've taken it up. A lot of councils are being formed. Tatas have started a huge initiative with the government for skilling. That's exactly what they aim to do. They aim to build skill sets and training for the small scale industry in partnership with the government. So and government is encouraging such private sector partnerships with the government. They're encouraging it because they want to incentivize manufacturing to the small. Unless manufacturing comes out of the small scale and medium scale industry, we're not going to meet our target of 30% to GDP. No, Germany built up skill and vocational education to a level where the qualification required is equivalent to a degree in any of the conventional professions. So therefore you find that a gardener or a plumber there is highly paid. And in society, he enjoys the same status as any of us.
And may I give you a political insight into this? Frankly, we never had a skill development or skilling ministry. It was only in 2014 that it was introduced. So the government recognized it. But may I tell you the reality check, which none of us check? That ministry has been given to an alliance partner. You know, what you think is the least important you have given, when actually it's the most important. And this is the conversation we are not having in our economy.
Skill minister, no, the skill minister, but that's why the private sector is doing it. They're making efforts. The larger groups are making huge effort, like I said, the Tatas, for example, and larger companies. Now, Vanita, I thought you'll ask me when am I restarting golf. That's why you all are here, no?
Or somebody... Yeah.
To ask.
Nobody asked, how do you both de-stress? Golf, we could pick a...
Sport. I love sports of any kind.
And you?
Running, jogging.
Certainly not sports, as you can make out. And the only time I actually exercised, I have a ligament tear from that. It doesn't suit me at all. The good life is what the Punjabis are made for. But I de-stress with music. And I de-stress, with friends and family. But music is a big part of it.
Would you conclude this mehfil with a little humming? She could do it. Her mauke pe...
I'll do a share and she will do a song.
Oh, wonderful. But she will do a share and she would just do a song.
Irshad.
अर्ज है खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. So that, I think, we are speaking of power, we are speaking of self-reliance. I think to some extent you have to carve your own destiny.
It's mauke pe, na? See how prompt hai.
अभी ना जाओ छोड़ के दिल अभी भरा नहीं अभी ना जाओ छोड़ के दिल अभी भरा
नहीं. Beautiful. Thank you to both of you for making the time. It's already 10 o'clock. Almost. And bravo to both of you. More success, more happiness.
Get three women together and then there's no full stop. We just proved it. But thank you to the audience for bearing us for so long.